Funny how secrets travel on. I start to believe if I were to bleed. In sky the man shaves his hands held high. Across beyond.
Oh, that's good, because then we'll be able to talk, because then we'll be able to take our time, like David did on this film.
Okay, so fuck yes, welcome to After the Hype. Me, your host, as always, Brian Dressel. With me, as always, is Jonathan Hardesty.
I kind of enjoyed this movie.
Ryan James. Woohoo! Chewy cannot be here today for other reasons again. She's stuck in that goddamn superstore.
When will they let her leave?
I know. They should make a show about superstores. It'd be something else.
What if they just called it Superstore?
Ooh, then I might be in trouble for calling it the goddamn superstore.
Oh, they could also put it on NBC on Thursdays.
That should be their Twitter account.
There we go.
That should be their Twitter account, the goddamn
Super-
Superstore.
So you just heard his voice. Our special guest today is Chris Ortiz. Hi, Chris.
How's it going, everybody?
Chris, do you have anything big in your life you'd like to plug right out of the gate?
Nothing at the moment right now.
Perfect. I love that plug. Keeps this shit nice and tight. So we'll move right into where have you been doing. Chris, where have you been doing?
Okay, I guess I'll start this off. Recently, I've been watching Riverdale. I don't know if anybody else at this table
I really want to
watch
it, but I haven't started yet.
Oh, it's so good. It's like Twin Peaks with Dawson's Creek. Only the Dawson's Creek kids learn to shut the fuck up and let the Twin Peaks shit happen.
What?
It's great.
Now, I've never been a fan of Archie. Will I still enjoy it? Not like I don't like it. I just never really got into it.
Well, I think the deal is, and I think like what you just heard me say is that it is legitimately like Archie by way of Twin Peaks, and appropriately David Lynch, who we're talking about today on the podcast. But what I mean by that is that like, you know, it's all about like the underbelly of small town USA and that type of deal. And the Archie comics, if you haven't been reading them recently, I actually highly recommend them because they've gotten much, much better.
I've heard they've been really good lately, but I haven't gotten into them.
They have, and then I've been trying to track down some of the more interesting ones because I heard that what they do is that they kind of almost have them in alternate universes now. Like they have Archie Goes Afterlife or something like that, which I haven't read,
That's
but
weird.
I've heard everybody say is actually really good.
Huh.
But yeah, Riverdale's been my thing, and watching a lot of Archie and reading a couple of the new Archie comics. That's where have I been?
Cool. Ryan, what about you?
All right, I've been hanging out with Chewy's neighbor from Superstore, Powerless, the new DC Comics show about a bunch of people who have no powers. However, they end up working for Wayne Tech, and they basically make devices that give normal people superpowers or protect normal people from superheroes. This stars Vanessa Hudgens, who cannot stop acting like she's in High School Musical. And unfortunately, the rest of the cast thinks they're on Community. So it's a really big clash of tones. Alan Tudyk's great. Watch it for him.
So I've heard the major thing that people tell me, and tell me if I'm right, or tell me if they're right, it feels supremely rushed.
No, it doesn't bother me.
Okay. I heard that it sounds like they got a good idea and like, make it right now! And then they did instead of like developing the idea.
Sure. It just kind of feels flat.
Wasn't there also a thing about there was a pilot that was
I was just about to say, yeah, I remember hearing about that.
They recut it to be a little bit more something or other, but it became, I don't know, like
I
there was
don't know
some
what it became.
controversy around that. Like,
This sounds a lot less like a DC television show and a lot more like a DC movie.
It just feels like a CW television show instead.
No, I like CW.
The
CW shows are good.
Okay.
Did you not watch the Legends of Tomorrow, but it was all about George Lucas? That was fucking awesome.
Or Riverdale.
The other CW.
Your opinion is wrong. John, what about you? Where have you been doing?
been listening to podcasts. I like that, you know, just to see kind of what's going on out there in the podcast world.
So you're cheating on us again. I got it.
Yeah. I particularly liked an episode of Waypoint Radio where they decided to break down the Souls series and kind of figure out what that genre would entail. Since the game Neo came out for PlayStation, which reviewers are saying it's like a Dark Souls with samurai and stuff like that. But so they decided to take Souls as a genre and kind of pick apart what was the crucial elements to a Souls game. Was it the bonfire sanctuaries between two hard points? Was that kind of a major crucial element to the genre? And they broke it down very academically, and it was surprisingly engaging to listen to.
I might have to check it out because the reviews I've been seeing about Neo say that it's very Soulsy like, but it doesn't have the same fairness that Souls has.
Right, and they even brought that up too. So I was like, is that an element of it? The kind of difficult but fair element? Is that like they kind of waffled between having that as a minor requirement for the genre versus a major one? But then this game had more loot. Neo has a lot more loot based versus just every item has a story. So like they go into that in a very academic way, and I was very surprised, and I didn't actually leave my car until I was done with the episode.
It's kind of fun though.
Yeah,
I'll check it out. So I, after recording last week's episode, went and saw John Wick Chapter 2.
I'm so sorry. No.
If you listen to our episode on John Wick, you will hear every reason why I did not like John Wick 2. We predicted everything that they did wrong. It was just like, well, this movie was so good because it didn't do this. They did it. Every single thing that we said it was so good because it didn't do, they do it in this one. And it's like, fuck.
At least it had a cohesive plot, unlike certain films that we will be talking about today.
I mean, yeah, I guess it did. But, like, there was no heart in this one. There's so much heart in John Wick. And this one's just like, he's back to work. So, like, it was fun. The action is impeccably well shot. It's a very, very well-made movie and totally worth people's time. But as does it hold up as a sequel? It's fine. I
Sounds
know
like most sequels.
Well, yeah, but I think because the reviews technically are higher for the sequel than it was for the first one, I think people are really getting their hopes up for it, and I'm here to bring them back down to a reasonable level and realize that you're still just watching a sequel to a movie that was a lot of fun, but that was what it was supposed to be. It was a lot of fun.
Well, for something that feels like The Raid but with guns, having the sequel be lesser than kind of feels like a disappointment.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's not, like I said, it is not a bad movie by any stretch. It's just, it did not have that special feel. Like, when you watch John Wick, it's like, I'm watching something fresh and new and awesome. And this one is like, I've seen this. Like, how many times can I watch Keanu Reeves jump up, grapple a guy by the head, shoot somebody else, then shoot that guy in the head? Because it happens like 20 times in John Wick 2. So it's like, after a while, it's like, this was really cool, and now it just keeps happening. So it gets a little redundant, a little kind of meh. But I'm trying to be as negative as I can, so that when you go see it, you're like, oh, he was full of shit. It was a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Because when I went into it having everyone tell me it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, I was severely disappointed. Not a bad movie, not a great one though either.
Get ready for part 3.
Yeah. Speaking of which, let's talk about Lost Highway.
Great transition, Brian.
Oh boy!
I really wish this is. I'm always saddened when my wife cannot join us for the podcast. This one is a special case because this is one of her favorite movies. I'm very sorry that she can't be here. It's part of the reason why we put it on here. That also because what day does this come out? It's like this episode will drop on. I can do math in my head, or I can look at my phone.
Thursday.
Thanks. That's the solid date.
For me, it was
this will come out
Thursday.
Thursday, which is 5 days before the actual 20-year anniversary of Lost Highway.
Wait, the 28th?
20. Yeah.
That's my mom's birthday.
How do you like that?
Does she
like
get
the
your mom
movie?
Lost Highway?
Yeah.
If you don't
I
love
should
her,
get her something. Thanks for reminding me.
There you go.
Happy birthday, Mom.
So yeah, I think that's kind of a cool, like, I like 20th anniversary things. That's kind of fun. We've done it before for this show. So I figured Lost Highway was a good one to do because a lot of people remember this movie differently than what it is.
yeah.
So
Much like Bill Pullman?
Yeah. So let's get into what it is with a segment we like to call a 30-second breakdown. Breakdown. Chris, are you ready for this?
No, I am not ready for this one. I don't think anybody is ready. Could be ready for this one.
Do you think you can break down the entirety of Lost Highway?
Oh God, no! We are not. No, are you kidding me? No.
Do you need a whiteboard?
I may need some whiteboards, some charts. I'm actually going to be starting a community college course breaking down the plot. If you all want to sign up for next semester.
It's funny because I was debating on having everyone do. I'm not going to because I just take too much time. But I was going to have everyone do their own version of a 30-second breakdown just to see what all of us thought fucking happened in this movie. I'm
going to try something a little bit different. We talked about it a little bit beforehand.
Okay.
I'm going to try to I'm going to do this as if I was David Lynch saying the plot of Lost Highway.
I don't think you have the right hair.
I don't have the right hair. It's because I have no hair specifically. But I'm going to try it.
Off to a rough start.
All right. All right, you ready to go?
Yes.
Okay. All right, 30 seconds. Go, 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 go.
So Lost Highway is about a saxophonist who has a wife, and they have sex a lot. And there's a creepy guy who's dressed like some kabuki-looking motherfucker. And, he's in two places at once at certain points. And then Richard Pryor shows up just because I like having him around. And then Robert Loggia shows up because halfway through the film I just told Bill Pullman to fuck off. And then I brought in another guy who's...
What a tremendous failure. Yeah, that was abysmal is the word I'll use. And my insult to you this week was fuck, man. There's so much to go for.
What? That was accurate because it was.
His David Lynch was a little flat.
Yeah, his David Lynch was a little flat. I would say that was as mind-numbing as trying to explain this movie to anyone else.
Oh, really? Was it?
So
I don't know. I just tried it.
Much in David Lynch's own way, your breakdown of the movie is a review of your breakdown. This feels very Lynchian, right?
Whoa. Here, I'm gonna move the camera around a little bit to get this like.
Oh, take it in and out of focus and.
No. What you need if we're gonna do this Lynchian thing properly is we need some like creature holding that guitar playing Johnny Cash or something.
Yeah,
like
there you
that.
go. Or just like somebody standing behind you in white face paint, or like a bunny head for no reason.
Or somebody going, "I'm in your house right now."
Okay, I'm gonna get this out of the way right now. David Lynch is a brilliant filmmaker.
Absolutely.
I don't think you can't argue that, even when you don't like his films. As you probably guessed, I did not like this one. Unfortunately, it's a weird movie because it's impeccably edited. It's impeccably shot.
There isn't a single thing out of place in this movie.
Yeah,
like,
it's really weird. It's just, because it's so weird, it's like, I just can't get into like the surrealism on the same level as I think he likes to put his films into at points.
This is like one of, I say, like 3 of his trippiest movies.
Yes.
Like he has 3 films that like I'd say this is like the bottom of it. It's like here, Mulholland Drive, Inland Empire.
Yes.
And like you can see like there's elements that he started here that he later perfected in Mulholland Drive and then got really drunk with in Inland Empire.
Sometime I need your opinion on what happens in Eraserhead, because if that makes more sense than this to you.
See, the thing is, like, I don't.
What happens in Eraserhead? In heaven, everything is fine. That's it.
Yeah.
See, there's something about Eraserhead to me where it just doesn't feel like these other 3 to me.
I know.
Like there's.
It's just it's his first movie, so.
Well, yeah. So it's just different.
Yeah.
But this one, there's something special about Lost Highway. There's like reasons why.
Rammstein, really.
Yeah.
Marilyn Manson dying.
David Bowie.
There's so many just like layers to unfold. So we usually go through and we talk about characters and that sort of stuff. But really, I just kind of want to talk about like what the fuck happens in this movie, because you can throw a dart in the internet and find anyone under the sun who thinks they have what really happened in Lost Highway, and they're all completely fucking different.
Right. I went to 4 websites to find out what actually happened in the movie, and there were 4 different viewpoints on what happened in the movie. Didn't help me any.
Yeah.
So let's get started. I really like the idea that this was a sequel to Man of Steel. I thought it was really interesting the direction that David Lynch took Superman into.
Yeah, it was a weird idea, but it works.
Like, I especially like the Robert Burke as Mr. Mixopiddlick. That's literally what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm going through my head as I'm like, okay, this is an alternate universe.
I think he'd do great in Aquaman.
Remember, originally he was going to do Return of the Jedi, which actually I think would have been a brilliant film if he did do it.
It would have been a different movie, that's for sure.
Yeah,
a lot more boobs.
But okay, let's actually get started here. I want to talk a little bit about kind of like what do we think actually happened in this movie. So the common theory, the common thread that most people go through is that Bill Pullman, if you want to take the movie as it is on screen, has the ability to change his body. Just completely, when things get too stressed, he turns into somebody else. And I think that's kind of I think that's taking David Lynch a little too on the nose.
Right.
Is it though? I mean, like with him and everything. I mean, it's like you say that, but I mean, like David Lynch has always kind of been about like not making movies for like the physical, but almost making movies like your mind does, almost like a dream-like state. I mean, if there's one thing that David Lynch has perfected over his career is that he really nails like dream logic in his pictures at certain points.
Specifically in Inland Empire.
Yeah, in Inland Empire, Mulholland Drive, and Lost Highway, I think are all like dream logic in that like they all make sense on a almost subconscious level, but like when you bring them up to the surface, you have no idea what the fuck is going on.
Yeah,
I felt really primed to watch this movie after playing like hours upon hours of The Witness, where it's like the concept is not that like nothing is linear here.
Yeah.
And if you like, as an editor, I'm like, I kind of can get behind this in a weird way, because like things aren't where they belong in linear time.
But
and
that's the thing. So if you believe that he has the ability to change himself, it is linear. It's completely linear.
So naturally, I don't go toward that viewpoint. Yeah. And my thought is that he got electrocuted. He died, and the movie is just his like.
So it's like Mulholland Drive with that box.
Right.
Sure. I mean,
that's kind of where I'm leaning with that. But like, I'm ready to hear. I mean, I'm ready to.
I like the theory that I've seen around the most, and kind of what I was thinking when I watched this way back probably 10 years ago. I don't think I saw it when it came out. I was a little young for something this fucked up. But
Dude,
like
this movie came out, I think, almost as within the year of Independence Day. Can you imagine a kid being like, "Mom, I want to see the President of the United States in this.
I want to see him banging Patricia Arquette. Way!" And then lose his boner and not be able to do it.
Like 35 minutes later, Robert Burke shows up. Mom is like, "We're getting the fuck out of here."
But the theory that I've always kind of enjoyed the most is that it's one person's movie. It's entirely Bill Pullman's character's movie, and everything that you see is either reality or his dream world. And when things get too tough for him, he snaps and he goes into his dream world, where everything's a little bit easier, where he's this like no-nonsense teenager who doesn't really have to worry about things. It just wants to bang a hot chick. And so I kind of like that idea, and I think it kind of plays out, when you think about it, kind of well. It sort of works. You lose it at the end when he's the one who left himself the message. But for the most part, I think it kind of works.
If there was really a message at all.
True, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, David Lynch is all about the subjective when it comes to a lot of his films. He's all about,
Well, you got to put like your own experiences within this and everything else like that. So I mean, like his movies. I mean, you just said the four theory. You talked about the four theories and everything. Like he's right. All four of those theories could actually be correct because David Lynch is known for just being like, no, that's correct. No, that's correct. No, that's correct.
And just being like, it's up to you.
Yeah, and I kind of appreciate that in a little bit because I think with like lesser filmmakers, those just kind of come across as in like lazy of just like, yeah, I didn't have an idea. I think he has an idea of what happened, but he doesn't want to change your idea.
Yeah, he wants you to have your own idea with this.
Exactly.
He's really big on that.
Yeah, so it's kind of like what I got really annoyed with Guillermo del Toro for when he came out and said the end of Pan's Labyrinth is exactly what you saw. No, she died and she went off to live in the fairyland. I'm like, I liked being able to interpret, like, is this happening or not? Mm-hmm. Right. And then when you take that away from us, it ruins the experience a little bit. And Lynch is great about never ruining that experience.
And what's great about these other options, these other ways that these could go down, is that they still follow the logic of the movie, the dream state logic. So they're not breaking their own rules, and you can actually argue really well for each of the ways that this thing like plays out. Yeah. And it's why like I'm starting to appreciate it more and more as I kind of percolate on it. Like after the movie, I'm just like, what? And now that I'm like in kind of puzzle mode, I'm puzzling over these details. Yeah. And this becomes a fun movie almost to puzzle over.
I mean, that's
not a fun
Lynch.
movie to watch, but it is fun to puzzle over.
Yeah, it's a really fun movie to discuss. Like, it's a great movie to watch and then sit for like half an hour and then watch it a second time and go, all right, what the fuck did I just see? And it's just kind of like and then when you kind of bring it up with people and you see like John probably got something completely different than I did, and then it's just kind of fun seeing how that all kind of happened.
It's kind of like a Donald Trump press conference when you think about it.
That's so sad.
And true, unfortunately. But I mean, like, yeah, because I mean, he's too talented for you to just dismiss everything. And I mean, like I said, I did not like the film. I don't like the film. I think Mulholland Drive. I haven't seen Inland Empire in a long time.
I saw it at the Music Box when it came out, and I haven't watched it again. I was like, I've seen it. I don't need to see it again.
Yeah, it's like one of those types of things where I'm like, you can stay away from me. And I mean, he's done like and I love Blue Velvet, but I think with him is that he knows his technology cold, and you could tell that with some of the shots that he does where you could just pause it, and the lighting in it and the composition is just absolutely perfect.
Oh, and the way that he plays with mirrors, especially like Bill Pullman stuff, of like, is he seeing a mirror or is he seeing himself going to kill somebody? And like, if there's an entire breakdown online that if I can find it, we'll try to throw some links on the website so you can kind of see what we're talking about. But there's a guy who literally watched the movie again and again and again just to do out the floor plan of their apartment.
I think I read that one.
Because it's really cool, because a lot of people say it's kind of like The Shining, where it intentionally does not make sense. Mm-hmm. And like, no, it totally makes sense. It just proves that there's two Bill Pullman in the apartment. There's him, and then there's like an evil version of him, and he has a duplicate. Like, that's how he goes down his rabbit hole. Because there's no way it doesn't work, that none of this could have happened if there wasn't two Bill Pullman.
Well, it's almost like it's almost like he's got like his id version or something like that, and then he's got like
it's like the mirror bizarro version of Bill Pullman.
Yes.
Who became president of the United States.
Plays at the end
Bill Pullman.
Because when he's on the intercom, he's completely different in posture, stature, and attitude than when he answers the intercom. So, like, yeah, you could totally play it that way, that there's two of them split.
And then you have the theory that the reason he's so fucked up in the mornings is because it's right after he killed Patricia Arquette. And they're playing with times. Like, he just got done murdering his wife, and the rest of the time she's not actually there, and he's just imagining her there. And it's like, there's so many layers to this movie.
Yeah. Then there's that line he tells the detectives that he doesn't like to be filmed because he likes to remember things how he wants to remember them.
Yeah.
And that line I started to kind of get an idea, like, okay, hold on, I cannot be taking this at linear value.
No, you can't take you
can't
really,
take any David Lynch
You can't
film
trust
at linear.
a single frame in the movie, and that's kind of what I like about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's such an unreliable narrator to like the nth degree that when they try it now, it pales in comparison.
Well, I think you just nailed the nail on the head where you just said you can't take this in a linear value. And the thing is with Lynch is that a lot of his films, he doesn't. I mean, it's kind of ironic that like for other filmmakers, Blue Velvet would be considered to be the most extreme film they've made. For Lynch, it's just like par for the course.
Yeah, it's got a 3-act structure to it, which most
of his films do not. Yeah, you're
this
right.
one fucking doesn't.
And this is what I mean. Like, you know, it's like a lot of his films are elliptical in nature, where like the beginning of it is actually the end, and the end of it is actually the beginning, and it's just kind of like almost like this circular structure where you have
But with
all
like
these
things
like
slightly
ideas.
different too. So
Yes.
it's like very kind of not quite right. It's like this feels like this is connected to the very beginning of the movie, but it isn't really though. It makes you kind of it bothers you internally, like on a psychological level.
And
which
this movie really does a good job of that. Just kind of like, wait, what the fuck am I watching? Like, it does a really good job of like it. Of like what I keep saying, how you can't trust anything that he says or anything he does or anything he sees. Like, you look at his apartment, and that's not how anyone would ever decorate an apartment, and you can believe that was all insanely intentional.
even for the
absolutely.
time, even for the time, having the VCR in such a weird place versus the television.
Or you look at like the couch is like in a weird corner, and then
Yeah.
there's no art in the wall. And they like a lot of things that I've read and kind of looked into, and I totally believe is that because you're not seeing things as they are, you're seeing things exactly how he said, how he likes to remember them.
Well, also, I think like I'm gonna make like kind of a comparison. You guys can tell me if you think this is accurate or not. Like David Lynch, I tend to compare him on a cerebral level to Stanley Kubrick, because Kubrick would also do some of those types of things in his films, especially with set design. He would, for lack of a better term, he would fuck around with the audience with editing and everything else like that, where like if he wanted you to feel disoriented, what he would do is in between takes is he would adjust things like ever so slightly on tables and that type of thing, because subconsciously you would start feeling a little bit like woozy or nauseous and stuff. A good example of that is Clockwork Orange. That would be a double feature with this film. With like when he's drinking the wine when he's at the guy's house again, the wine glass keeps shifting. The glasses on the table actually keep shifting to the different glasses, and the level of wine keeps shifting. And you would think that's a continuity error. No, he actually did that intentionally because he wanted you subconsciously to be like, something is off with this wine. I don't feel okay.
And what's fascinating with that is like Kubrick is playing in linear, like literal space.
Yes.
Whereas like
Lynch
is like the
another
complete
level.
opposite of that. Whereas like he's like the upside down.
Yeah, they're very complementary directors, but
Yeah.
like Kubrick's films are much easier to swallow. Like,
yes,
every
I
time.
agree.
And they might be a little bit more disturbing because what you're seeing is actually happening. It's not mental, so it's a little bit harder to break away from what you're seeing. Whereas like Lynch movies, I have a feeling like many people watch this movie and think it's not disturbing or weird at all, and then other people watch them like, that movie's just too fucked up for me to handle.
Well, no, I was just trying to make a connection and saying that my interpretation of it is that it's actually a sequel to Clockwork Orange, where Alex is clearly Bill Pullman. I'm just going to keep these theories going.
Clearly,
I mean, it's absolutely clear to me.
Has
Prequel
been like
to Inception, of course.
Day 63 without the milk.
But was there any other theories that you saw that you guys had about this movie that you think was like what actually happened in it, or you believe any of the ones that you've heard, or you think it's something else?
Those we kind of covered those, but I'm curious now about the literal version, like that I saw, like that just literally happened. He shapeshifted into someone else and replaced him. And
Well,
like
the big argument for that one's the end of the movie when he's driving away and he's shapeshifting again, and he's like,
because that ending does kind of punctuate that thought process.
yeah.
But then, what I keep coming back to is like the electric chair. They like electrocute him. If you think he's dead, that's just the shock of it.
Yeah.
Right. So like, but I know I find the more literal version just as fascinating as these kind of more ethereal ones.
Yeah.
Like you could take it literally, and the imagery does really play to that.
I was going to go with time travel also.
Well, I don't.
time travel.
I think there's an element of time travel too.
Yeah, I was actually being serious about that.
No,
one.
I think I don't think there's a way that there isn't, but I still think that I buy more into the whole of attachment of reality. Like when things get too much for him to handle, he switches, and we're still just seeing everything from his point of view. That's why things are always fucked up in his apartment. Why it doesn't really make sense. And then there's like really weird little things that I had never noticed until I started kind of doing more research for this episode. Like Patricia Arquette's shoes. She's wearing the same shoes throughout the entire movie when she's what's her character's name? The wife in the beginning.
Alice or Renee?
Renee. So she's always wearing the same shoes, and that's when she kind of looks a little bit sluttier. She's got the red hair, the more makeup, and then in the end of the movie, when you see her in the porn, she's wearing the same shoes. Mm-hmm. So it's like clearly like there's a connection there that he's filling her in as the woman who cheated on him and was in porn and all this stuff, and that's why he killed her because he was mad. Or is it just a weird sort of thing? But like even at the end of the movie, there's no such thing as like a happy coincidence, or was the line?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's also the scene when he's in the garage and he's hearing his saxophone solo over the radio, and he just almost freaks out. And it's like these echoes of his world creep in, and
and that's where I think it's like, because it's kind of like when things are too much for him, he goes to his happy place, which is him as this kid, but he's the embodiment of you can never get what you want, because as soon as you have it, you no longer want it.
Yeah.
So like the more that happens, like as soon as so his happy place is he gets to bang the very angelic but a little bit more forward version of his wife, where she's this perfect thing, but even he can't have that because then he's getting murdered by this mob guy. Like there's so many things to pull. Like that's what I really do love about this movie. I don't think it's definitely not my favorite movie. I'm not going to go to watch it every time, but whenever you do, there's so many threads you can pull on. It's really fun to kind of unravel. You were saying something else about a different theory. No, weren't you? No, you're talking about the reality one.
The reality, yeah. Those two kind of I like the most, especially since they're at odds. The one where he died, and it's all kind of his memory of how these things are happening in his last moments. So like the electric shock is like those final 6 seconds or whatever of life you could experience all this and have echoes. I like that one, and I like the literal one.
Yeah.
But I like that they're arguing in different ways, and you could still kind of place them together. They hold up.
And the thing is, I don't know if anyone's ever going to get the exact same point of view that Lynch had, because I don't think Lynch is ever going to really let us know.
Nobody is ever going to have the same point of view as. I mean, that's also what makes him a very unique filmmaker.
Yeah.
is that like he just has this very skewed view on things, which is really weird because it seems like he's a very normal guy when you talk to him, minus the meat hooks on his property and his music.
I mean, he's just an artist who this is his outlet. You know, he's not in this for the commercial aspect of it. This is instead of painting, he paints films.
Yeah, and it totally works for what he wants, and like
absolutely.
It's always kind of a joy to watch it. Even if you don't end up liking the movie, it's still it's
You're
always
still
a ride
getting
worth
some
taking.
Feel into someone's life,
and it's like it's like I said, it's like I don't like the film, but I respect him.
Yeah,
and I'll always respect David Lynch for what he brings to filmmaking, because I wish we had a little bit more filmmakers like him who are kind of willing just to go
willing to just take risks,
balls to the wall.
I mean, the problem is, so I was going to mention this at the beginning of the episode, but it felt like more important to bring up later. The problem with Lynch, not artistically, is financially. None of his movies make money, so he's a real tough guy to get behind, and I can see why, especially current standings now, where Disney's like, well, we're going to do this movie here because we're going to make $1 billion. We're going to spend $100 million. We're going to get back $900 million. So it's tough to look at somebody like David Lynch, like, all right, we're going to spend $15 million, we're going to get $3 million. So we're spending $12 million to let you go do something.
Now's the time when I want David Lynch to be given the genre movie. Let's let him do a Moon Knight adaptation. Or
No. Let's not have him do the Moon Knight adaptation.
Are you
Let's have
afraid
him do
of
any
that?
other. Yes, I am very afraid of that movie. You ever
would
see
be
In the Mouth of Madness, where they're
amazing.
talking about the book that drives people mad? That's going to be the movie that drives people mad.
Let's have him do the Red Hood and the Outlaws origin story.
Fine,
you
go.
know?
But that's another element too. Is like, I feel like just the world we're living in right now, the kind of the modern age, we're also just not going to these movies. If these movies get made, we would say
Wait
that
for him on Netflix.
Didn't
Yeah,
one of
wait
his
from
didn't Inland Empire or something else come out on VOD at the same time as theaters, or is that not one of his?
I mean, Inland Empire was before VOD was a real big thing.
But he's right, though. I mean, it did come out, I think, it was one of the first movies that came out simultaneously, I think, like, at the same, because...
I don't think VOD was even a thing then.
Was it? I mean, like, pay-per-view maybe it was. Maybe it was pay-per-view or
but I mean,
something like
it could have been. But I mean, either way, it's like...
because this is the type of movie where we end up kind of doing a little bit of work. And I'm not trying to disparage how we watch movies now, but it's a different mindset and a little bit more of an exploratory mindset that was a little bit more popular during that time.
Yeah.
And it feels like we're a little bit more. I mean, it's just we're uneasy as a people.
Well, it's because
it's a mixture of that, and it's a mixture of like Lynch makes movies that challenge you, and when you're going to spend say $50 for you and your significant other to go to a movie and get the popcorn and the soda and all that sort of parking, all that sort of stuff is going to cost you $50 to $60. You want to go see a movie that's going to challenge you really hard, or you want to go watch some big explosions? It's like, oh, that was funny. I got to forget everything that Trump said today for 2 hours. Like it's kind of. we're at a point now where people don't want to pay to go see these really kind of troublingly difficult films like this one was, or like any of his other movies are.
Which is sad because it's when we need these challenging films the
Yeah,
most.
absolutely.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
But, I took a 5-year-old to like it to it, and I think they thoroughly enjoyed Lost Highway. Along with their grandmother,
Of course.
who's never seen a movie ever before.
It'd be a great one to start on.
I mean, like, this is my thing. It's like, I actually would love to, like, take, like, this movie and, like, get an audience of just, like, those types of people and show it to them, and then actually record what their reactions
Yeah,
are and what
swap
they
out,
think
like,
was going on in it.
Swap out the next Marvel movie. Swap out Guardians of the Galaxy 2 with this and just see what people think.
And lock the doors
Yeah,
and be
like-
like, no, you're watching this.
Yeah, you will see Guardians of the Galaxy 2 for free if you sit through this one first and answer this questionnaire afterwards. You get some people, you can get a hell of a reaction.
That would be an interesting system. I mean, theaters did that a long time ago. They'd be like, to buy Star Wars, bring Star Wars in, you had to play Flowers in the Attic or something like that.
Oh, my God.
Things like that.
Awful.
A bad example, but like, you get what I mean. Like,
Sure, yeah.
bundling.
You're
Like,
a sick bastard. Actually, I think a good description of how I felt about this movie is The Simpsons at one point had a great scene in it. This is when they like the first couple of seasons where Homer is watching Twin Peaks. And he's like watching the show, and they show what he's seeing on the television screen, and it's like one of the characters dancing with the horse, and there's a stoplight hanging off of a tree and everything, and there's this jazz music playing, and then at the end of it, like the light comes back on, and you just see it like Homer go, "That was brilliant. I have absolutely no idea what it means, though."
All right, well, let's kind of cut back into a little bit more of our current or our normal fodder. Let's talk Bill Pullman in this movie.
He did Bill Pullman pretty well.
Oh, he Bill Pullman the shit out of this.
I think he did better than standard Bill Pullman. Because when I think standard Bill Pullman, I think the beginning of The Grudge, where he's just kind of a doddering old fool who jumps off a ledge.
I think a Titan AE.
The animated one is, that's definitely classic Bill Pullman.
Which is clearly an interpretation of what his mindset was.
Yes,
Like-
of course. It's a sequel to...
No, I didn't say it was a sequel. I said that's what he was thinking about the entire time he was recording
I
his
didn't mean
voice.
to
for
misinterpret
Titan AE. Yes.
it's younger Bill Pullman is interesting. There's like a weird kind of thing. There's something else, like a je ne sais quoi. Like
he looks like, and I would not surprise me if this was very intentional, he looks like a noir anti-hero in this.
Yeah,
Very much a lot of the time.
especially that first shot, how they frame him. He
Yes.
is smoking the cigarette.
Yep.
He's bathed in shadow, and he's moving slowly. Like,
Is it because he just killed his
You
wife?
know what I mean? Like,
Who
there's a
knows?
voiceover with it where he's kind of like, here's the entire plot of the picture.
Yeah.
you're probably wondering how I got here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, he does have a William Holden, like, quality to him a little
Yeah,
bit.
there's a style of movie that Bill Pullman is great for, and I feel like he was born 20 years too late for them. And like, it's movies like this that it's like, okay, so he can kind of really cut in to what he's good at, and these are the type of movies, the type of parts where it's like the kind of guy you don't really like, who kind of looks like a smarmy piece of shit that's probably killed his wife and a number of other people, but he really cuts into those roles really well, and he does a good job, and he can really kind of like, he can really chew the scenery in a way that fits the movie.
And he'll be president one day.
Yeah. Well, he already was. It's after he got impeached for fucking up that whole thing. But there's a certain charm to him, specifically in this movie, that I really enjoy. That when I watch other movies with him in it, that I kind of go, oh, you are kind of a shitty actor, but you're good in certain things.
Well, he's probably one of those guys that really needs the direction of being told what, like, how and where to act and everything else like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I mean, like, Independence Day probably got away with it because he was a very vanilla character and he played him very vanilla-like.
And he had a real shitty director on.
Roland Emmerich? No! I mean, I don't know about you. I think Godzilla is a milestone of cinema.
It's a milestone, but not in the way that it's supposed to be, or they wanted it to be.
Yeah, tell me about it. But
You've
yeah.
even got, like, even to that end, you've even got some hints of Bogart in them too.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah,
I
just like
agree with that.
in a lonely place element, kind of.
Yeah.
Like, just kind of stoic.
Yeah, if you put him like back right when they first put sound into movies, he'd fit in perfect.
Yeah.
Like he's got that perfect, just overacting level.
Can't stand it.
Yeah.
And I can't stop it.
But I really like him in this movie, and like for something that you don't really have a lot that you'll like in a movie, I thought he was great.
For me, it was very much a time capsule. I knew exactly when the movie came out just by looking at him and the way he was framed.
Oh yeah, you look at him and Patricia Arquette, and you're like, oh, this is 1997.
Yeah, pretty much.
If the Marilyn Manson and Rammstein didn't give it away,
Yeah.
first.
this was before. Once they came out, I was like, oh, right, gotcha. Yeah.
David Lynch went to a concert of theirs, and he's just like, I like you. You should be in one of my films.
I don't host you.
But about Patricia Arquette, I think she has so much to do in this movie, and I think she knocks it out of the park.
She looks like a femme fatale, and is, I think, very intentionally in a lot of the different things.
But she plays two completely different characters in this movie, and I think she knocks them both out of the park.
Oh, yeah.
The only problem I had with her, and this could have just been my TV, I couldn't fucking hear her the entire movie.
Oh, the entire movie was hard to hear, actually, and very dynamic. Like, she and Bill Pullman did a lot of whispering, and then like his saxophone solo is over the top.
Yeah, so I had
Can
this
we talk
movie.
about, like, actually, I think that saxophone solo was inspired by a Rammstein. And, like, Marilyn Manson I'm looking at that, I'm like, how the fuck is he not having an epileptic seizure on that stage?
And this was the inspiration for Too Many Zoos.
Well, oh my god, I got it. It's actually Whiplash. It's the sequel
there you
to
go.
this. Is the,
It's a prequel.
It was
to Whiplash.
definitely
prequel
his
to
fucking
Whiplash.
tempo.
Bill Pullman is actually J.K. Simmons.
Yeah. He's wearing the same shirt.
Yeah.
God,
That's true.
that actually might have some merit. I mean, search on that one because
Damien Chazelle somewhere's like, somebody got it.
Yes.
fuck La La Land. I don't need to make any films. He got it.
You know, modern filmmaking has gotten to Chris too hard when he's trying to fit Lost Highway into another franchise.
Yeah. Or trying to consider
Which
Whiplash
universe
a
is
franchise.
this a part of?
So yes, Patricia Arquette. Which role do you like her better in?
The very end. The more kind of, as he gets more into his fantasy, what he wants, she just becomes more dangerous. Like, she fits that femme fatale thing. It starts to hit that noir element, and I'm more geared toward noir, so I see this kind of...
Okay, here's an interesting thing. Would you say that she actually plays the two different types of females that we typically see in film noir films? And what I mean by that is that I'm going to connect it to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Not that way. No, not that way. But just bear with me and stuff.
Yeah,
Where
He's
you
actually
have Joanna Cassidy's character and you have Kathleen Turner's character. So you have Joanna Cassidy, who plays Dolores, who is his like normal girlfriend and everything,
Right.
who works the diner, and then you have Kathleen Turner, who plays or voices Jessica Rabbit, who's the femme fatale and is buxom babed and everything else like that. Would you say that Patricia Arquette plays both of those kind of I don't want to say stereotypes, but
no, they are. They're noir stereotypes.
yeah, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
Every good noir always has two females. I've noticed,
And
in it. They have one
she plays
that's
both
a
of
straight
them, yeah.
one, and they have one that's a femme fatale, and she plays both of them. I feel like in
Yeah,
this
and
picture.
I totally. I think you're right on point with that. It's interesting because especially with Bill Pullman characters, and then later, what's the other actor's name?
Robert Loggia.
Is he the second Bill Pullman?
Oh no, I forget the actor's name who played. There's like one of those guys who I've never seen in anything
Kmart
else.
Charlie Sheen.
No, it's actually Charlie Sheen when he's healthy.
Kmart Charlie.
Please
Sheen.
tell me it's Emilio Estevez. Please,
Oh
let's just
my
remember
God.
that.
It's not.
Yeah, I know.
It's not.
Balthazar Getty.
Thank you, Balthazar.
Oh
I knew it was
man,
about-
I want to meet this
Balthazar?
guy. I want to meet this guy's
He-
parents. I
got
want
either way.
to know.
I got vibes of like Ferris Bueller, like
You-
Charlie
you-
Sheen and Ferris Bueller. Like,
Sure.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is, so I like that both of them, I feel like Balthazar's character wanted the Bill Pullman's wife, and Bill Pullman's character wanted the Balthazar's wife.
Oh, you got a fair point there.
And I think it's kind of cool that they both, it's that constant, you can't get what you want. And I like that, like, both of them, especially if it's Bill Pullman, like, putting his own mind into things, creates a universe where he's still not going to get what he wants.
but he'll get what he needs.
Yeah. The other character I want to bring up, I'm fucking horrible, and then the internet's not working, and all these other excuses.
Oh, please tell me you're getting to Kabuki, man.
No, I'm saving him for last.
Oh God.
He isn't in our house yet.
Yeah. Well, he's probably at our house.
Oh no, don't, dude. That is. Oh God.
And the mob boss,
Robert Loggia.
Yes, Robert Loggia.
Now
He has one of the best scenes in any David Lynch film.
Are you talking
ever.
about when he beats the crap out
Yes,
of that guy?
absolutely. It's one of the best
Read
scenes.
the manual. I loved that because I had a visceral reaction to four-way stops here in LA.
Yeah, and like that entire scene is so good, and he is so good in it. And if you don't know, we're kind of skipping around it, but it's a scene where he's driving through a canyon highway and is getting tailgated, and then basically waves the guy past him, and then runs him off the road and beats the shit out of him for not being a considerate driver and tailgating.
Oh, I love that scene.
And it is one of the scenes that I've seen like referenced many, many times, and I've seen many times after I saw the movie because it's a very, very comedic scene in a not funny movie.
6 car lengths.
Yeah. But it's one of those.
You could tell that David Lynch had an experience like
Yes.
this. That one I feel like is the one where he's like, no, actually, I want you all to fucking know what I mean in this scene. 6 car lengths, read your goddamn manuals.
But it's those elements that really kind of stand out and really strengthen just the rest of it because there's just these odd humor moments, and the Coen brothers do this in a more subtle way in their movies.
Well, Tarantino also does it in a way, and also like and everything.
But these are all people that I think are emulating or paying homage to Lynch. He
Oh,
does
I
it
agree.
so well
Yeah.
because it's that perfect thing where Lynch says that his movies aren't horror movies or dramas or comedies. Like he's like, no, I just make movies that are these, and it's these sorts of
Where he's
moments.
just like, I make films that are films. I think that's.
Yeah.
I think what is. Did he say that? I'm not sure.
I'm not
but
sure.
I
But
think that's
it
a
was
good way to
something
describe
similar.
it.
Yeah, but it's moments like these that really drive that home. Where like when Tarantino says, "I don't make comedies," like, yeah, but you kind of do. They're all funny. Like they're all that way. Whereas Lynch, he makes a movie that will scare the shit out of you and make you laugh and cry and all those sort of things throughout the entire movie. And this is like that crowning moment for me where it's like that was a very funny scene.
Now let me ask you something. Did you like Robert Loach's character in this better than Dennis Hopper's character in Blue Velvet, or the other way around?
Well, they're very different characters, but that's like Dennis Hopper's like crowning achievement of acting. That's such
Because he's playing Dennis Hopper.
yeah. But I love Robert Loach in this movie, and I really like specifically that scene. I'm not sure if I'd even really give a shit about him in this movie if it wasn't for that scene.
The only thing that would have made it better is if immediately afterwards it's revealed that this is the same Robert Loggia who's in the orange juice commercial, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. But for any of you who don't know or were born too late, Robert Loggia is considered to be one of those epitome badasses, and at one point in time, he did a Tropicana orange, or like it was, I don't know, Florida's Natural. And it's almost Lynchian the way that they actually had this happen because his kid refuses to drink his orange juice. And his parents say, well, what if we got Robert Loggia to tell you the orange juice was good? And he goes, you're never going to get Robert Loggia to come in. And then Robert Loggia shows up, and it is like, you're just sitting there going, who fucking thought of this?
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, and that's actually a kind of a Lynchian commercial.
And they're all they're on YouTube. You can find them. They're
Oh, yeah, and
definitely
it's
worth looking up.
yeah, and like I said, you're looking at this thing and you're going, what the fuck?
Yeah. But there's one other person I want to talk about this movie that I'm
Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor is in this film, ladies
I mean,
and gentlemen.
for all of 2 minutes.
I don't care. It's Richard Pryor, Silver Streak, Superman 3.
That was a weird moment because when I saw him on the cast list as I was renting the movie, it was like, yeah, I wonder if he's in this for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then to be right, I was like, this movie is creeping me out.
I would have loved it if actually the deal was that David Lynch just saw him like walking down the street and go,
Hey, Richard,
hi, David.
you want to be in the film for a couple of shots?
Okay.
It really wants. David Lynch really likes comedy. Like he's a very big like comedian fan.
Well,
like
he cast a lot of comedians in his pictures.
yeah,
you know,
and he was even
time.
he was in Louis for an episode. Like
Yeah.
he's clearly really into comedians. So it wouldn't surprise me if just he and Richard Pryor were friends. And he's like, hey, I've got a part if you want it.
Absolutely. Or he's like, I've never had Richard Pryor in one of my movies. What
Yeah.
a star. I got to get him in.
Yeah, exactly. So
Well, it's probably why he is known for those comedic touches and why it works so well.
yeah, he's a funny guy. Like if you watch him interview,
Twin Peaks is hysterical at
Yeah.
points.
yeah, he knows comedy. He just doesn't make straight out comedies.
And I would almost argue that he's the only one who can master that tone jump. Like he's the only one who I feel like comparatively he just.
I'm not sure if
I'm not sure if he's the only guy because
Yeah,
I said
yeah, I'm not sure.
I say Cohen's could give him a run for his money.
Oh yeah, but I mean it's very different. I mean
But he
there's
does
very,
it so stark, and he's like he tone jumps off the cliff, and you're still with him.
that's what Kubrick was known for too. Like you watch the first half of Full Metal Jacket and the second half, they're two different movies.
Yeah.
It's the same with like Orange is the New Black apparently. Clockwork Orange.
Now there's a fusion show that I want to make.
But like
Orange is the new Clockwork. Orange is the new Clockwork.
it's a very different movie.
Oh my god!
Clockwork Orange is the new black.
Yeah,
all right.
but-
yeah.
Either what I was saying is like,
Yeah.
but like those are the same sort of guy who like they do big tonal shifts halfway through the movie that really modern audiences don't have the patience for. Like you try to pull that shit nowadays and just like, what the fuck just happened?
Well, Kubrick and Lynch are very cerebral filmmakers. We don't
Yeah.
have a lot of cerebral filmmakers.
No,
we have a lot of emotional filmmakers. Like Spielberg is emotional.
Sure.
Bay is emotional. I know what I just said.
You're
but
not
I'm not wrong.
You're
I'm not wrong about this.
You
if
didn't
you
say
think about
good
it.
filmmaker. You said emotional.
I said emotional filmmakers.
I would argue that.
But Abrams,
Nolan is Nolan thinks he's a cerebral filmmaker.
he'll tell you
but
that in every movie he makes.
Yes, but he's actually an emotional filmaker. All you got to do is look at the
Love
edits.
is the only thing that can transcend time and space. Shut
Shut
up,
the
Nolan.
fuck up.
It's always nice to talk to somebody else who hates Interstellar as much as I do.
My friend. I have people you should talk to.
A friendship forged in space.
But what we were saying is, and I think there's so many movies that you can pull from, especially in Lynch's like catalog, that are just this like, perfect depiction of like cerebral, of this like mental like jump. It's like kind of like when you're by yourself in a room and you're like, what was I just thinking about? Because you're like go from A to B and none of it makes sense. And he just totally puts that on screen in a way that like it's kind of nice. It's like seeing train of thought unfold on screen.
And this is and this may sound like a joke coming from me, but it's not. It is literally my experience going to any place for like getting groceries or supplies at like a Target or a grocery store.
Yeah,
I walk in there and suddenly I don't know where I am.
Yeah, it's like,
and like there's this weird existential like complete vacuum that happens.
It's like I didn't get socks. Why do I have a copy of Game of Thrones on Blu-ray in my hand? Like what the fuck is happening?
Okay, I'm gonna make a connection to a movie, and I'm not doing this jokingly, but I'm gonna make a connection to it specifically because of what the filmmaker said, because he actually has a point to it. But I would say a film that disguises itself as emotional, but is a little bit more cerebral, and I know you're gonna look at me like, what the fuck are you talking about? Is Scott Pilgrim versus the World?
Go on.
Because
I think you're giving that movie too much credit, but go on.
No. I could be completely
as someone who loves
off
that
the mark
movie.
and stuff.
I'm with you.
No, well, here's the deal and stuff is that movie, and this is why I'm making the connection to it to Lost Highway, and I'm actually trying to make a semi-serious connection to it, is that Edgar Wright and Brian Lee O'Malley have both agreed that they said, like, oh, so this is actually happening, and they both have flat out said, no. It's Scott Pilgrim versus the World is actually not happening in the real world. They're like, well, where it's happening at, it's happening wherever you want it to happen at.
Sure.
And everything, because one of the ideas behind it is that this is how Scott is viewing his relationship with his girlfriend and everything else in his own mind and stuff. And I feel like if you're going to be introducing yourself to Lynch, if you haven't seen him and stuff, that's actually a good way to think about it, is that you're not watching the real world. You're watching what's happening or how people are interpreting it in their own minds.
Yeah, you're watching a narrator's point of view. And now, it might not be the same narrator. It might change mid-movie. There's a lot of things that could happen. So I'm talking mostly about Inland Empire there. But like you're getting somebody's take on events that probably happened.
As long as there's good pie, I'm good.
And it's something you can translate to something more mundane if you actually took the logic down. Like this obviously is not this.
So when you look at Lost Highway and you break it down to what the whole movie is really about, it's about a man whose wife got bored in their marriage, cheated on him, and he killed her.
Right.
Yeah, well, it's like Mulholland Drive, for instance. Well, it's kind of interesting because we were talking about this before. Mulholland Drive is almost like a remake of Lost Highway. A brilliant
It's very
remake.
similar.
Yes.
There's a lot of ideas that he started in Lost Highway that he then brought into Mulholland Drive.
Yes.
I usually say he perfected Mulholland Drive, but I don't want to piss everybody off.
I'm with you on
But he
that
perfected them in Mulholland Drive. But you were saying.
But no, I agree with you about that one and stuff. I mean, like I said, Lynch and I'm gonna, like I said, I know I keep making this connection, but it's kind of true and everything. Lynch and Kubrick are also very much interested. When I also said they're in the cerebral, they're also very much in in a mode of trying to activate, I think, parts of your brain that are not usually activated when you see a film, nor are people comfortable having them activated when they go watch pictures.
Yeah, for sure. Like that's like the first David Lynch movie I saw in theaters was Mulholland Drive. I'd seen of his movies before that, but that was the first one I actually saw in theaters. And I remember it was particularly like the scene in the diner where they see the devil outside or whatever you take him as. Like that scene just like I was so like mortally like uncomfortable, like mortified. I was just like, what the fuck is happening in this movie? And like it just like unearths things in you that you don't really want to have unearthed while watching a movie. And I think Lost Highway did that for a lot of people far before Mulholland Drive ever did.
Yeah, right. And it's like with the Clockwork Orange, it's like Kubrick, what he did is that he forces you to sympathize with a rapist murderer.
Yeah.
And that's a very interesting thing to like examine through the lens of today.
And this movie, and if you take a look at this movie you could really take it as you're watching a guy try to prove to you that nothing is his fault. So he didn't murder his wife because she was cheating on him. He murdered her because she was doing all these other things. She was in porn and all this, and she betrayed his trust and all this. So it's like it's a whole movie that it's like beat by beat by beat. I did these things because I was pushed into it. It's not my fault. So if you take him at his explanation,
It's not your fault.
Yeah,
It's not your fault. That's all you needed was Robin Williams to show up and just say
it's
that.
not your fault.
God, if we had a film with Robin Williams and a David Lynch movie, that would have been a combination.
It'd have been a weird
But it's
one.
an interesting. It forces you to kind of address this thing in, like, I don't know, the male psyche. At a certain age, you start to lash out. You start to feel like this rage, but rage is not the right word. This
it works in this movie.
Yeah.
There's
You
a
want-
lot of
you
rage.
want to
Ben Bill
dominate.
Holmes
You
gets.
you want to
want-
dominate. You want to conquer. You want to. You're carnivorous, right? You know. You want to.
No, you're right.
Tear
I think you're on the
apart.
right path.
Yeah, like there's a primal thing that, just speculating here is that it's something as you're getting into your adult years, as you kind of go from teenager to adult, you're just wrestling with that. It's why like puberty and teenager, that time frame is so miserable.
Yeah. But I
Because-
think this movie's a perfect explanation of why your late 30s, early 40s could be just as miserable.
Well, yeah, that's like the next stage in evolution. If this were Pokemon, this is the second stage evolution, right? But it's like terrible.
So you say
If you wanna
Pokemon,
be
I think Digimon, and they're going to Digivolve. By the way, the new Digimon was fantastic. If nobody watched it, nope, just me. That's what I thought.
But again, it's interesting. Like this is the first time I saw this movie, which
Yeah.
is weird. It was a blind
That
spot.
blows my mind. Knowing you and what movies you're into, I'm so surprised you never went to this.
And that's the thing.
before.
I wish I could have. I wish I would have, just seen it back in the earlier. Like
This feels
earlier.
like one that you would have gone out of your way to go see, like in the music box when you're in school or something.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Just these weird blind spots pop up, and they're always movies that have like this. I would have seen this very differently back then versus
definitely.
today. And today I'm seeing it through a very different lens and a very specific and academic and almost just from today. And it's weird.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to watch movies like as we have to because we're watching them with the idea of breaking them down to their very core and critiquing them.
Yeah.
So it's a little tough. I feel like I watch movies now differently because of our podcast than I used to before, where I could just sit down and like, ooh,
Yeah.
what's this? And just let it wash over me. And now it's like, all right, now how am I going to pick this thing apart?
And and I feel like this thing never had a chance to wash over me just at an earlier age, a more kind of an age that was closer to the rage, I guess, of this.
Well,
I feel like there was like a different connecting point.
I don't think this movie really washes over anyone, though. I think that's kind of the point. It's supposed to slam into you.
Like a sneaker wave.
Yeah. Yes, just like a sneaker wave.
Like a car on a lost highway.
Yeah. Is there anything else that we haven't? No, yeah, we haven't talked about Robert Blake.
you
We
gotta
gotta
talk
about Robert Blake.
that. Yeah. Holy shit.
Woo! I almost skipped Robert Blake.
Now, can you imagine being in the 70s and 80s, kids? Go back in time with me. You see Beretta. You like Beretta, and everybody enjoys Beretta. And you follow Robert Blake, who looks like a Reverend Robert Forster, who looks like a Reverend Tommy Lee Jones. And Robert Blake is kind of the straight and narrow. You just recently saw him. You just recently saw him in Money Train, that wonderful film with Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes. And then you see him in this batshit crazy.
My favorite thing about Robert Blake in this movie is that he designed the look of his character.
Yes, like when I read that, I was like, holy shit! You are. I would never want to be in a room by myself with you. Aside from the other things that happen.
He is an odd dude for sure.
Oh
But
my
And this is
God.
also the last thing he was ever in. Mm-hmm. This is his swan song.
Before the other,
Along with
before
Richard Pryor.
before he became OJ 2.0.
Yeah, before he kind of went, well, I'm baddie. But yeah, there's something about his character in this movie that like it brings a whole nother level to this thing. It was already weird and crazy and strange, and then this guy enters, and it's just like, what the fuck am I watching?
Well, he's introduced. He looks like Bela Lugosi. Like he looks like fucking Dracula's little emaciated brother.
Yeah.
Like just comes in there and he looks like a vampire.
This is clearly Bill Pullman's anchor into Crazy Town. It's like, oh, well, that dude is clearly the reason I'm two different people.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And interesting you mentioned that too, because he hands Bill Pullman the knife at the end, which connects to that whole like, this is all happening to me. I'm doing this because of other people.
Let's also first talk about this. The interesting thing is we're introduced to Robert Burke without being introduced to Robert Burke because if you guys Blake. I'm so sorry, guys. Robert Blake. I was getting him mixed up with another guy. To Robert Blake, when they're having sex, and imagine Patricia Arquette's face replaced with a very early CGI mat
That was so bad.
of Robert Blake.
The thing is, if it looked good, I would have liked it less. Like
I agree with you. I actually like the fact that it looked kind of low rent in it.
Yeah, like I think that kind of makes it a little creepier, and like the
Because
and
it's almost
that,
kind of like moving around a little bit.
Yeah.
that fucking line, like where like we've met before. Where have we met before? In your house. Don't you remember? It's like, oh, it's so fucking creepy.
No, you got to do it right. It's in your house. Don't you remember?
But yeah,
Actually, I can't even do it right because he says it in this weirdly monotone way.
it's like he almost came up with his own accent for the character. Like there's such a weird cadence to the way he talks.
It's just creepy.
Yeah, there's so much like there's so much to say about this guy where you really can't say anything about him because that's the point of the character.
Look, parents, if you really want to discipline your kids, here's what you do. You show them this movie, and then you tell them that if you don't do what I fucking tell you, Robert Blake is going to visit our house.
Because I'll invite him, and he shows up when he's wanted.
You know that. He said it in the movie. You want me to call him up right now? I mean, he might be at the house, little Timmy, if you don't brush your teeth.
But he is. He is just undeniably freaky in this movie. And it's another reason why I love this. Like, I don't love this movie, but I really, really like it.
Like I said, I don't love it. I don't like it, but I respect it.
I really like it. It just, I really want to articulate what I don't like about it, but I have no idea what it is. There's just something that just falls just a little short for me.
Well, he's just, like I said, Lynch is a brilliant filmmaker.
Absolutely, yeah.
You may not like his films, but you can't deny the man knows what the fuck he's doing.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And this is a perfect example of, like, I don't think it's his best movie. I don't necessarily agree with that article that came out from the BBC that said The Mulholland Drive is the best movie in the past 20 years either. But, like, there's a certain credibility that David Lynch brings to every movie he makes that's, like, they're all definitely worth your time. Even the 3 fucking hour long Inland Empire, which is just a mindfuck. It's still worth seeing at least once.
Also, I mean, almost being too simplistic about it. There's a coldness that at the end of this movie, it's like, I get what was going on here. I appreciate the filmmaking, love what he was doing with it. I just don't connect.
And we all know that 16 Blocks starring Mos Def and Bruce Willis is the best movie of the past 20 years.
Of course.
Clearly.
There's no movie that's the best of the past 20 years that doesn't have Mos Def in it.
I thought you were going to say Bruce Willis.
No.
Ryan, you've been so quiet this episode. The first time you chime up in a while is to make a Bruce Willis joke.
It's always. I've just been chiming in with jokes.
Yeah.
It's because it's no longer it's no longer Ryan, actually, guys. We're actually staring at Robert Blake's face on top of Ryan's body, and it's moving ever so slightly across his face.
So then
We've met before.
Yeah. So then I'm curious, kind of, where do you fall on that spectrum of kind of what happened and what the meaning is? Like, when someone asks you, like, well, what was that movie all about?
I mean, I kind of took it for face value. Like, there's some weird body swap, Freaky Friday shit going on, but I really like that it's Bill Pullman not being able to deal with his own brain. That's cool too.
I think that's my favorite theory because it just makes it kind of a more fucked up movie.
Yeah,
of just like he's so unstable that he just can't handle his own life.
Yeah.
But I, as much as we could just keep unraveling this onion for days, and many people have, and like I said, we'll compile some links. We'll have them on our website if you want to go read and go down the rabbit hole. There's one that I particularly liked. Says it's "Talk You Bored," and that one is fantastic because he does talk you bored. By the end of it, he's just talking about Robert Blake's life, and like he just goes completely unraveled. So it's kind of a fun read if you have like an hour and a half to read the whole thing. But yeah, so I think we should move into quotes. Would anybody like to go first?
I'm gonna let John go first because his is mine probably.
I really I'm sticking with the line of I like to remember things my own way, how I remembered them, not necessarily the way they happened.
Sure.
Because it was like I kind of ignored the line at first when the movie started, but as we got through, I was just like, hold up.
It could be the most important line in the whole movie.
It could be the most. It could be
that's
the crux
Lynch
of it.
right there.
Yeah.
Like, something that's just whispered.
Because that
Lynch,
line,
the perfect guy for you cannot take a bathroom break.
Because the movie up until then is very slow, and I found myself distracted a lot in the very beginning of the movie, and probably the beginning is the most crucial.
Yep.
Because it there was like this war of just like, what's going on? I can't see anything, and then this line comes in, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. Wait, hold on, this is an important line.
Yep.
And it just led to the rest of the movie. I mean, it's why I think what happened the way I said earlier.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to go next because mine is just, it's a line that one of the cops who's following Bill Pullman number 2 makes a comment about when he first goes to bang Patricia Arquette. And it's a brilliantly written line that's just truly disgusting. He walks into the house with Patricia Arquette and the guy just looks at him and goes, fucker gets more pussy than a toilet seat.
Oh, yeah.
It's really 90s.
It's very 90s, and it's just
You would
disgusting.
never hear that line today ever in a film.
No, unless it's like the worst horrible bad guy who would say it, and then he gets killed later. Like, that's the only time that line would ever fly to. This is a fucking cop. Like, it's just like, ugh.
Well, it's like, what is it, that one line that they have in Usual Suspects where like where you just see Stephen Baldwin when he's setting up the rifle, he just goes, and people, I don't mean this, but I gotta say the line, Oswald was a fag. It's like, I'm like, man, you would never hear anybody say that in any movie now.
God, it was just a rough line that really just stuck out to me, because it was like one of those things where, like, I have so much shit I'm doing during the weeks right now. I'm sweeps and I work in TV, so there's a lot going on. And that was one of the lines when I had kind of drifted for a second. I was reading some emails and I just heard that one and went, ugh.
Yeah. So I thought John was going to take the whole read the fucking manual bit.
I find that line hilarious.
You actually took my backup line instead. So I'm actually going to pull out a line that we didn't really talk about much, but may have been more key to the duality of the characters than we realize. It's when they're fucking in front of the car, and he goes, I want you, I want you, I want you. And Patricia Arquette says, you'll never have me. And then he's back to Bill Pullman.
Fuck, that's a good
Yeah.
God, there's good moments in this movie.
Not being able to have her takes him out of his fantasy, maybe? I don't know. Who knows?
Could be.
Yeah.
The more we're talking about it, the more I like this movie.
Read the fucking manual.
It's a great line, but I mean, no offense, I think your line's an excellent choice. I still think the line that follows it, when he apologizes to the characters, like, tailgating is just something I can't tolerate.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's just so
you gotta do it right,
matter-of-fact.
where he just goes, tailgating is something I just can't tolerate. Billy, your mom is right. Tropicana orange juice is super. It has all the vitamins and minerals that you need for the day.
So the review system for today, it's going to be inspired by something Chris has mentioned many times today, Kubrick movies. So any Kubrick film to review this one might be a little tough. But I'll let Chris go first because he seems to have Kubrick on the brain.
Eyes wide shut.
Okay. Any reason why?
No. No, I didn't actually. Truth be told, I mean, I just didn't want to say. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go with The Shining because just like this movie, you could have multiple meetings with that one. Whereas I feel like Clockwork Orange, there's only one meeting that you could go with that one after a certain time and everything. But Shining, you can take it as a horror movie. It's The Shining. How could you not love it?
I know a lot of people who don't.
Fuck them.
I totally agree. But in a similar likeness, I'm gonna go 2001. Space Odyssey, because it's another movie that when I saw it as a kid, it scared the shit out of me. Like, just scared the shit out of me. The whole Hal thing, for some reason, the monkeys in the beginning scared me for some reason.
They invented murder. Spoiler warning. A bunch of monkeys invent murder at the beginning of this picture.
But it's a very uneasy movie that can be interpreted many, many, many different ways. And that's kind of why I think if you like that one, you'll probably like this one.
And talk about scores used to unnerve you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the chorus in 2001, and then you've got the use of just Bowie and Rammstein. Like they use music and
Marilyn Manson.
And Marilyn Manson, yeah, in just masterful ways to give you a sense of just what is going on. I don't like it.
I feel like I should mention now that you just said that this is one of Chewy's favorite soundtracks to a film ever made. I mentioned it before when I promoted the episode.
She's got a good choice.
It's a very solid soundtrack. Sorry. Go ahead, John. Did you have one?
Better.
This is funny. I'm actually going to do Eyes Wide Shut.
Okay.
Because it's Kubrick's less literal, more cerebral, kind of more toward Lynch
I agree
than
with that.
his more literal end of his
absolutely.
other movies. And I feel like that's where they were friends for a little bit.
Ryan, last but not least.
What's that one? What's that one left?
Barry Lyndon?
There's a few.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's what I was thinking. Clockwork Orange, because I kind of had the same like horrified look on my face the entire film. Like, oh, what's happening?
Clockwork Orange.
What is this about?
Yeah, when I was in high school, that was my favorite movie, and I told everyone that's my favorite movie. Now that I'm in my 30s, I'm like, I don't think that I want that to be my favorite movie. That's just too depressing.
It's okay.
It's like,
Hey, look, man, I was that
can
kid in high school that was like, I love The Crow, and if you don't like The Crow, there's something wrong with you, because The Crow is all about angst and love and everything.
See, that's exactly what I said about Clockwork Orange, and then I get all my friends to watch this movie full of rape and murder, and they're like, you're fucking gross, man.
You're kind of dark.
Yeah. And now I'm just like, nah, Terminator 2 is the best movie ever made. The rest of you can fuck off.
Yeah.
Okay, so that'll bring today's episode to a close. What's next week?
The battle.
It's
the superhero. Wait,
not
what do we
superhero.
call it?
It's the
Blockbuster
Roundup. So this will be. We have Alex Marsha Brown. She's confirmed that she's going to be here. It's going to be the rest of us, and we are talking about movies that. Not to sound rude, we don't want to waste an entire episode on. So that's movies that like there's stuff to say. We enjoyed or didn't enjoy watching them, and there's stuff to talk about. But do we really want to talk for a whole hour about them and kind of tell you everything that you've heard from every other movie outlet out there? No,
Right.
but we'll give you our 2 cents. We'll talk about them. We'll kind of fun with them.
I will talk to you for days about the brilliance of Bad Boys 2. So this is better not be one of the films.
No, we're going a little bit more current than that. So the movies on the docket, we have X-Men Apocalypse, Suicide Squad, Doctor Strange, Finding Dory, and
Tarzan.
The Legend of Tarzan.
Ooh, Tarzan. I'd be curious.
Which funny enough, I watched the Disney the cartoon Tarzan last night.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, just like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
Did it take out all of the white nationalism and colonialism and that type of thing?
No, it's old enough to have that in.
Double down.
As a matter of fact, it's just it swung into it.
I
instead of out
mean,
of it.
Phil Collins sung like the whole soundtrack. So
I fucking hate Phil Collins.
You don't like Phil Collins?
I totally agree with Sing Street. With no women can ever truly love a man who listens to Phil Collins. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that episode. Then we got a whole bunch of stuff coming up in March, including a kaiju battle, which should be a lot of fun. We have an anime battle. We're doing 2 battles in March. Keep looking at our blog. We had, I think mine was the last one that came out. We didn't have a new one this past week, but
Elliot did.
Oh, we did. We had Elliot's the one that just came out, and that one is it was a really fun read, and it kind of made me wish that he had been in charge of Men in Black 3 as opposed to what we got.
Right. We actually had a comment on that, so that was.
Oh,
cool.
did we? That's fun. Let's celebrate our 1 comment.
We've made it. We've made it. Shut everything down.
And then you can check out our no longer live stream of Watch Dogs 2, where we sat on a couch and we ran the San Francisco Marathon.
Like I wrote on the social media, in true podcast fashion, we sat for this marathon.
Yes. It was a lot of fun. I had fun doing it, and we have some more on the docket that we're going to try to do here, including trying to make Ryan play Demon Souls.
Yes.
And you just have to remember parrying is important, and they don't really tell you well how to do it. But if you can learn how to parry, you win Demon Souls.
Yep.
Good
luck
But
with
yeah,
that.
so we have all this stuff coming up, so please keep coming to our website, which is athpod.com. And then you can follow us on Twitter, ATH_podcast. You can follow us everywhere else, ATH Podcast. You can email us at athpodcast@gmail.com. Anything else I'm missing? I think that's everything. Rate, review us on iTunes. We always appreciate that. That's a big help.
Those rates and reviews do actually put us up in listings. If
Yes,
enough of them happen at once.
So we greatly appreciate that. We know there's a billion movie podcasts out there, so we appreciate you listening to this one. So please tell your friends. And anything else, Chris? You said you had nothing to plug.
No, I'm going to start a Genesis blog, though, now in defense of Phil Collins and everything we discuss.
Great.
Stay tuned.
You'll have one reader, and his name is Phil Collins.
No, I got nothing.
Perfect. All right. So thank you, everyone, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Peace.
baby. So please